as I sit here, I become aware of the physical body, very deeply aware. What it's actually made of is oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon, elements. The body is matter. But the wonder is, it becomes living when I am in it. I am the life that animates this matter, this wonderful vehicle of the body. I am meant to be the driver, the master of the body. From my state, I determine what I express and experience through this matter of the body. But somehow, along the way, in my journey through time, the balance of power shifted, and suddenly the body was deciding how I feel, what I experience, even how I express, how to shift the balance of power back to the original healthy state. I first have to become very aware of myself as being separate from the body, a wonderful partnership between that which is eternal, imperishable, me, the being, the soul, and that which is temporary, perishable, humus, matter, the body. The body is a wonderful vehicle of expression. I need it to express through, but I don't need it to exist. Rather, it needs me. We are separate, and yet we are partners. Becoming very aware of the sound within the body. My intrinsic nature of peace, of ease, of lightness. And when I experience those qualities very deeply, I actually begin to affect the state of the matter, the body. When I am in a state of dis-ease, the body eventually succumbs to disease. But when I am in a state of ease, even if the matter is not well, I can bring easiness into the body. The more peaceful I am, the more at ease, the more content, the more well the being, and the more well the doing. I even start to understand how to best take care of this matter that wraps around me, of the body. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. And welcome to Interview with the Raj Yogi. Tonight's topic is spirituality and physical matter. As mentioned, for the students in Raj Yoga, we have a focus for this month, a different focus every day. And today's focus is about conquering matter, being a conqueror of matter. I, the soul, am a conqueror of matter, but that can be a pretty misleading term, it feels. And so, what is the relationship between spirituality and physical matter? So, that's was something I found very interesting to explore. And at least I can't really speak to what others would feel, but sometimes there could be impression that I'm trying to conquer over matter. And and we've mentioned in previous interviews about desires. So just listening to the commentary, it seemed like once again we're always focused back on the self. And so, what would you feel is this unhealthy relationship that we actually have with ourselves, and how does that affect matter and what matter looks like these days?
It seems in general, we've begun to think of ourselves as matter. And that affects actually, in a perhaps increasingly adverse way, how we take care of matter. So the term conquer perhaps sounds oddly violent for a non-violent path, but I think what the term or the idea is trying to suggest is to become a sovereign or a ruler or even a steward is often the term that we use when referring to nature, the elements or matter. And we think about, it's interesting, there's very many environmental movements looking at nature out there, the flora and fauna, taking care of it. But when we talk about matter, the elements, the same elements that make up the trees, etc. In many faith traditions, they talk about water, air, fire, earth, ether. Those also are what make up this matter. So this is my most intimate relationship, more so than anything out there in the so-called environment. This is the most intimate, but we have a stewardship attitude towards the environment out there. We feel that we have conquered it, that we can really do what we want, which is how we've gotten to this situation. And so often this very odd relationship with the body as well. We're trying to control it, but at the same time almost abusing it, just as we've sort of done with the environment. And if we can get back into the seat that I am not this matter, I actually access certain qualities within the self, nonviolence, top of the list. And I start to be a steward or guide or have a relationship with matter that's aligned with my core qualities or intrinsic nature. So I actually take better care of matter when I don't think I am matter. It sounds odd, I know. But the moment that I'm able to sort of, if we will, reclaim the throne or the kingdom inside, I am a soul and I have an intrinsic nature that's extremely peaceful and easy, then I start to operate that way through matter. I remember once having had to have a physical treatment done on the body. And the practitioner was just saying that they actually felt peace in the body, which was very odd. Um, it's not usually something that we would suggest, but just the power of reconnecting with myself, the being, and those qualities of the self. How then will that guide my experience in the matter, but also how I am, that relationship, how I am expressing to the matter. And so conquering is more being a caregiver, steward of the most intimate matter, which is the body.
I was thinking about how ironic it is that when you don't identify with this body, you can actually take care of it more. And I was wondering if it's because we're at a time where we can't even listen to what's going on inside, can't listen to what's going on inside me, the soul. And so we don't even know how to really read what's needed, but to compound it, we think that we're the body. So we're also not going to really be able to pay attention to what the body needs.
It, in some way, we sometimes use the word ego, but it's around always this idea of value or worth. So if I think I am the matter, or that the matter matters more than me, that means I've invested some sort of value into it. And I will do whatever I think I need to do in order to sustain that perceived sense of value, even if it's abusive. So there's extreme cases, of course, with the body, but also with the elements, with the nature around us, because of our perception of value, which starts to connect into desires. We actually start to abuse that entrusted with us just to be able to sustain that perceived sense of value.
The other thing that came to mind about just even the word matter, it also means value. So, and there was just a moment earlier this morning where it was just, I don't know, just passing thought of what is my relationship with everything around me. We never really think about it. And I know you were mentioning about that. We just abuse things. And it's like as if we just negate that things exist in a sense. And I find it quite interesting, fascinating that Brahma Baba, he was just amazing in terms of just how his relationship with human beings, with animals, with nature. But it was, as you were sharing, something that came from the inside. And it wasn't that he had to tell himself something. It felt like as if spirituality was sort of a sensitivity to everything around him.
There was an incident today where we had to get from one appointment to another in very short time by car. So again, the car is matter as well, and the body, everything. And so trying to do this very quickly, I remember feeling that sense of pushing or rushing. And it's not that I can't move quickly or make the car move quickly, but there was a sense of it not trying to move quickly, but not in the alignment, not aligned with my intrinsic nature, which is very peaceful. So it's actually the sensitivity to everything around me actually isn't by focusing on everything around me, but it was a sensitivity to a couple of things, to myself, again, my intrinsic nature, but actually also to God, which creates a trusteeship, actually. But the sensitivity, connection to God, I want to get my sense of value from God. I want to be an instrument for God, all of this type of thinking. So I'm still trying, I'm still moving quickly, etc. But there isn't that sort of push or rush that desires tends to create. And I think that's when we say conquer, it means care for. And I think that's the idea, is that we swing from one extreme to the other. That I'm pushing, pushing, pushing. So if I'm going to care for them, I'll just stop everything. And rather, it's I want to integrate my real true sense of self and my relationship with God into how I am interacting with matter. So very sensitive to spirituality or to the self as a soul, to the supreme soul. And that gives me a sensitivity or a different way of caring for and interacting with everything around me.
Just this whole topic that we're sharing, I know this is a very extreme case, but it really was uh, something I remember hearing about that really was making me think about how the lack of value within what that does and makes us blind. But it was actually about this individual. I think he was a noble, and through perhaps maybe not fair means, he gained the status of an emperor of in China. So this is many, I guess you call them dynasties ago. I guess that's what they call them. So he was actually not in the same country as where he was supposed to rule. And so when he gained success and he heard of this, he wanted to get there as fast as he could. And so he gathered all the horses that he could and basically rode them to death, one after another until he can get to where his destination is. And that really stayed with me when I heard about that, because I was thinking about what we do to our bodies for the sake of value. And I know that's an extreme example, but I do feel that perhaps we just become so numb to, it feels like our relationship with the body is actually more of a deeper sign of something else, that we're not able to feel what's right. And so just even the matter of listening, I find this very interesting in terms of spiritual identity and what that means in terms of just being able to listen to myself as a soul. And as you even shared, it's not really about the things around you, but the sensitivity that you have inside and how that affects your relationship with matter, but even just others.
I think everything, other souls and matter, that energy is really sensitive to the invisible, to the intentions. So when you could have two souls that seem to be doing the same activity, seem to interact with matter the same way. Gardening is a wonderful example. Um, but in one case, things flourish and blossom, and the other, they don't. And it's really just that sensitivity to intention. So there are all those famous experiments with water, of course, that suggest there's a real sensitivity to the invisible. And so to really, the moment that the most, really that sense of desire, what I want, is a very uh, dark, actually, vibration that matter does not respond well. You can push, but you won't get a lot of results, certainly not long-term results, versus contentment. When I use everything in a state of contentment, then there's much more fruition, if you will, or blossoming. And of course, we have the joke that things just don't last the way they used to. Nothing lasts as long. Matter is breaking down more quickly because there's so much desire and profit driving and everything. Whereas I always think about things that, use of matter, creation through matter in the olden times, pre-industrial, and the care. There wasn't an interest in profit. It was just the quality of the work, to really create something ethically of high quality. And these things would last for so long. So we even have antiques. We can't get a toaster to last 2 months, but these antiques that have been, so what happened there with matter? Why do those things last so long? I think there was a different intention driving the soul as they interacted with matter.
I think I know someone who has a microwave as old as you, as your body. It works just fine. So one thing actually I was thinking about is, how about when it comes to conquering the mind? Is that really the right phrase? But of course, then what is the intention?
I understand the word conquer because it's related to rulership or reclaiming a kingdom. But actually, the understanding, the feeling for me is to care for. So we're talking about a rulership or leadership that's very benevolent. So yes, I am conquering, reclaiming, that leadership. but as a very benevolent leader. So it's actually care for, when we say conquer the mind, then it's care for the mind, conquer matter, care for matter. So I am the one that's taking back the leadership role, but as a benevolent leader. So otherwise, conquering the mind sounds like I'm killing it. And of course, I don't want to do that to my mind. Well, I think some perhaps feel that on certain days they'd like to, but I don't want to kill my mind. I think that's obviously violent. What I'd like to do is to be able to care for it, to nurture it such that it operates at its ideal. So when it comes to the mind, it operates at its ideal when it's peaceful. So it's this very interesting form of conquering where I'm restoring peace to the kingdom of the mind, coming into that leadership role because it got flipped. So we say conquer where the mind was ruling me rather than me ruling the mind. So it is a sense of reclaiming the kingdom or leadership.
The tail end of the commentary you were sharing was about, when light change, it actually affects matter as well. And it feels like a very far-sighted sense of understanding, actually a very healing. It really feels like a very healing experience. And yet, we're at a time where it's all about immediate attainments. Fast food is quite interesting. That it just seems like we're not really able to see the bigger picture. Even technology right now, it's such that even where I am for work, it was meant to make things better, but it seems like it has created, and it's not that, but what is this relationship between our awareness and just how things are created? One time you had shared, and I've had this experience as well. Sometimes the laptop just shuts down on you if you're not in the right alignment. And it feels like it has a life of its own in probably a good way because um, it just doesn't work for the rest of the day. And then until you kind of come back to it from the right place and it seems to work again.
Yes, the energy of matter is very sensitive to the living energy of the spirits, spirituality. And I think when we are taking, then we are really destroying. But when we are bestowing or benevolent, then we are nourishing things. And this happens with people that when we have a lot of respect and regard and love for others, they actually shine under that kind of light. They actually operate at their best. And those who try to get more out of someone by being very harsh and thinking I can get more out of them this way. Actually, yes, it does seem like something's going on, but it's destroying. In the long term, it's destroying. So we're going for a very short term result. So to really, again, come from it from my innate qualities as a soul, I actually will have a very beautiful relationship with matter, people, other souls, but also it would apply the same with matter that I can, and I think of all of the senior students of the Brahma Kumaris that they really pushed matter in the sense that they did an incredible amount of service through their bodies right into old age. And they learned this balance. I think of them a lot when we say conquerors of matter. They learn the balance of how to make matter into a partner on the field of service. But they had to be in such a benevolent and therefore very sensitive to what's going on with matter, but still being able to continue with this part of not taking but bestowing, bestowing. So that bestowing energy really, really nourishes matter. And this is again what's happened environmentally is we've taken and taken and taken and taken, and it's at the point where we can't stop. Actually, we can't even regulate ourselves to stop. So that is breaking down matter very quickly.
No, we're running close to the end of the session, but I was thinking about what is, sometimes we talk about things that have to happen in our lives. We call it settling karma, you know, and for many, they don't, just karma in itself, law of karma. I know we've talked about that in some sessions quite a while ago, but it's such a sensitive topic. But just listen to one of the senior students sharing today about sometimes you'll have to things you've done in your previous births, and there can be illness and so forth. And I remember taking care of a patient one time who had cancer, and I can't remember what kind of cancer. I think it was pretty bad, but I remember he was quite upset. He said, I did everything I could to take care of the body. I don't know why I have cancer. And what is this relationship? And it's for souls to have a very healthy relationship with what's going on. Otherwise, it just feels like punishment for them.
I think first off, when we talk about karma, it is cause and effect, but it's not like we intentionally are doing certain things so we can get a bad effect. We really are blind to what we're doing, although it's still having consequences. And ironically, I was thinking about this was the case with Brahma Baba too, but I was thinking about a soul that I was asked to share a bit on, and the thing that was kept coming up for me was that they just had a beautiful vision on a very deep vision. They didn't really look at the surface. And I suddenly thought, yeah, they didn't have to wear glasses right up until old age. They didn't wear glasses. So the sense of using matter in a benevolent way. And it's understandable that we stopped doing that. We started to abuse rather than use matter. We started to abuse because, again, we can't survive without a sense of value. So we start to do things that we believe are good and right, but they are subtly taking to get that value. It wasn't that we were bad people or anything. We were just really just trying to sustain the self. But the bottom line is that we were not getting the value from the right place within. We were trying to get it through matter. And so eventually that starts to catch up with us. And ironically, if that's what I've done, I've got to, in some little way, because sometimes the body is so debilitated, in some little way, I've got to perform other actions to the body to really fix that account. So that's conquering matter as well, is finding a way to perform different kinds of actions coming from self-respect through the body. Got to find a way to do that. It was so interesting today because we had a couple of fitness classes to teach, and in both I called ahead and said, is there anyone signed up? And they would say, oh, there's just one or two. I said, are we canceling? I said, no, come and teach. And I was laughing because the first one, it was just one. They had a private. And we were just having a little chat with the manager about why these classes seem to struggle. And they are, and I remember the participants saying, yeah, it's just, people just don't get that this is caring so much for the body. It's very, it's a type of movement where it doesn't look externally like a lot is going on, but internally there's a lot of care going on for the body. And it's very difficult for us to, we say, no, I'm doing healthy things for the body, and I could actually be abusing it. Short-term gain, but what's going to happen in the long run? So how to perform different kinds of actions to our body, whatever state it's in due to the past activity I've been doing. Can I perform different actions to the body? This is really critical. I know you work in chronic pain, and once you get into that downward spiral, and the only way out, I've got to perform different actions through the body. Even though I'm in deficit, I've got to find a way to perform different actions through the body. So
Sorry, just to clarify, since it's the last thing, you mean what consciousness I am in when I'm performing actions?
It is the consciousness which would shape the attitudes. Um, sometimes what happens, which is why settlement has to be used very careful, is I start to come into a bit of a victim or disempowered attitude. What can I do? And it's not about being harsh, but changing that attitude, that consciousness. Some people do it very naturally. They doesn't look like they can do much of anything, but they have a wonderful attitude. And just their presence actually can uplift a gathering. That's beautiful activity through the body. So really having to check the consciousness and the attitude that I'm operating from, and that there isn't a little bit of disempowerment or victim coming in, which is why the term settlement has to be used very carefully.
Thank you. Yes, I'm sorry. A tickle in the throat. So I'll have a little reflection. I'll try not to interrupt.
In 1 second, one thought, I become completely aware of my relationship with the body. Sometimes the body is referred to as the vehicle or the chariot, and I am the driver or charioteer inside, sitting in that control room of the body behind the forehead. I become aware of that relationship. And before I even express to the body, I want to take a moment to experience my true nature, which is so peaceful, so gentle, non-violent, but very, very powerful, very soft, delicate power. Taking a moment to really connect with that experience of the self, I, the soul. Feel that. And then, stable in that state, that frequency of energy, how will I operate through this body, this chariot? It still will act, but driven by my core qualities, that peacefulness, that contentment, that gentleness, that power. Operating from the inside out, from the self through the body, from spirituality into matter. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Thank you for joining with us this evening. So, our next upcoming session, in terms of English workshop, that's happening on the first Saturdays of every month at the Inner Peace Center. So, the next one will be on February 4th. I believe it is 1 o'clock to 4:30, and registration is required for that. And it is an on-site session. I don't believe it is actually streamed online. But we also want to remind souls that there will be a pause in the interviews. So we're just letting souls know ahead of time. That would be between February 14th, which is a Tuesday, to Tuesday, March 7th, still inclusive. And then it will resume again on the 14th. So we'll still have interviews all the way up to, I believe it's
February 7th, if that works for you. And so please visit the website for other upcoming sessions, drop-ins at the Inner Peace Center, as well as at the Academy, and plenty of online sustenance sessions in English and Hindi. Thank you for joining. Om Shanti.